We'll give everybody a second here. It looks like everybody's getting connected. We'll give it a few minutes for our friends to come and attend. If you are wondering where you're at, you are at Progressus Connect for October 10th, 2025. We're very happy to have you here today. Just going to give people a few more minutes before we get started. We got lots of great content to present to you today, so we're glad you're here. Hope you're having a good Friday. It is Friday, so it can't be that bad, right? We've got the weekend to look forward to. All right, I think I see people filing in. Please don't bump your neighbor. Be mindful. With that, all right, go ahead. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So welcome, everybody. My name is Jeff Suen, Director of Solution Management here, and I'm very happy to have the two stars of this. I'm just happy here to be amongst them. Kim Bateson, who you probably know, she is our product owner extraordinaire of the Progressus solution. Very happy to have her. She's going to be presenting on some new features of Progressus. She's going to let me to try to present today, so that'll be exciting for me. We also, as always, have Linda Contreras with us as well. We say technical writer, but she is everything to us, whether it's QA to TA to technical writing to everything in between. And she's going to share some new things that she's been working on for the team when we get to that later today. So thank you so much for joining. What are we going to focus on? First thing that we'll focus on is Kim is going to be talking about the Microsoft resource pricing. You might be questioning what is that? And the idea behind it is that we have kind of our own pricing that we've had in Progressus forever. Microsoft has introduced some new resource pricing, and she's going to kind of show you what do we do versus what do they do. When you turn it on, what are the things that you need to think about? So we're going to make you aware of that. We also have Bill-by-Task functionality. This is about to be able to set up different customers for different tasks. They're going to let me talk about that one, so I'm excited to go through that one. WIP with what is that, Kim? BC percent FP feature. What's that again?
Budget completion percent for fixed price.
All right, that's just so I can interject her instead of hearing me. Great. So that's what she's going to talk about too. We also have a feature. It's introduced, I think, in the last month or two around our Power BI reporting. Now, hopefully, you're all familiar that we've had Power BI reports inside of Progressus for years. Microsoft has added a new way for us to make it so we can embed them and allow you to quickly get to those reports inside of Business Central, taking you to the screens to be able to view those. And then Linda's going to kind of wrap it up with some new items, some quick help pages, some new things that's been produced and put out there. So with that, let's go to some housekeeping items. Kim? All right. Now, we have different types of sessions. Progressus Connects are generally our push to you, right? We want you to understand these things, and then we have time after we talk about it for you to come back and give us some information about feedback. Hey, what about this feature? During the session, so we do want to get through the content, please, you can go ahead and type in a question, ask a question, what about this, what about that? If we don't get to it today, we'll definitely get back to you because we know who you are and we can connect to you. Second, this is being recorded. We know that everybody can't make it. We had a lot of people sign up for this. We know something always pops up. So we are recording this session so they can see it, and you can also share it with your team members. And this stuff is obviously focused towards you to understand what's new and great around Progressus. Again, questions you can type them in the chat. If you're like me and I always think of the questions after the session, you can always email us at progressusinfo@plumlineconsulting.com. Also, this is a very important one that maybe sometimes you don't think about doing, but Kim has opened up and said, listen, well, first of all, we all feel this, that you guys are the most important people to us because you're using our product and you always give us great feedback. So Kim has the ability, and again, this deck will be presented to you so you can click on this link, but you have the ability to click on a link and see, hey, Kim, I have a question on X, or I have a new idea on Y, and you can go ahead and book those and you'll be able to see her time slots that are available for her. We're always highly interested in getting your feedback. So enough of me kind of giving you the intro. Hopefully we've got a lot of people that have come on since then. With that, I'm going to initially turn it over to Kim for a couple of features, and then I'll drop in and try to drop some knowledge as well. Kim?
The first thing we'll cover today is the Microsoft sales price experience, and specifically for resources. The Microsoft sales price experience has been available as a feature for a few years that you can turn on. However, we've worked with items for quite a few years with that Microsoft pricing experience. We've also added the ability to use resources with that as well. So that's what today is referring to. So if you use the Microsoft pricing experience, then that would be used instead of Progressus resource pricing. We're still using Progressus resource pricing. We're continuing to maintain it for specific reasons, which I'll show you here on the next slide. So some of the benefits of why you might want to use their new pricing experiences. There's more of a unified pricing structure, meaning you can set up item and resource prices together in one user interface. It does support customer specific price rates, which is one of the main reasons that I think someone might be valued in using it. You can also set up project rates as well, and other things, which I'll show you in a demo. And then it's just a centralized view with multiple filters that you can use to actually see the prices that are set up. So hopefully as we go through this, you'll see kind of contrast and compare the differences between the Microsoft pricing versus what Progressus has, and see if it makes sense for you to use the Microsoft pricing. So it's both cost and pricing when you turn it on. So it's not just pricing that it enables. You would also have to use the Microsoft cost setup for your resources as well. So one consideration is that Progressus offers true labor costing for salary employees. If you have that need and that's a really important thing, then Microsoft pricing may not be the best solution for you. We have price templates. They have some things where you can copy lines and things like that, but it's not exactly the price templates that we have. And then also resource subgroups are not included in anything that Microsoft offers. So if that's a feature that you use, you would want to continue to use Progressus. And then overtime costs and prices as well. So we have an overtime factor that you can apply to overtime that's entered. Microsoft doesn't offer overtime. Some of the things they do offer, though, that is unique to them is customer pricing. So you can set up prices by customer instead of by project if that's something you want to do. And they also have a minimum quantity. So you could set up a price for up to 10 hours. And if your timesheet line exceeds the 10 hours, then it would apply a different price. It's more applicable probably to items than resources per se. That's a per transaction quantity that it checks. Both Microsoft and ours has the resource price and item pricing and costs. We are going to continue to use our expense costs and prices. So even if you turn on the Microsoft pricing, expense costs and prices will still be maintained in Progressus. One other thing of note, we have a sales price adjustment process. So let's say you posted a timesheet and it has the wrong price on it. So today in Progressus, you can go in and run a process and it will find the price that was wrong, update it to the correct price without reopening the timesheet. Currently, we have not incorporated that with Microsoft pricing, so that feature is only available if you're using Progressus pricing. However, if you do reopen the timesheet and resubmit it, the Microsoft pricing would reevaluate it and get the right price. So let's take a look at some implementation notes. There are really two setup things to make it enabled. One is first to turn on the Microsoft Enable Sales Pricing Experience. They have a feature management page to do that. Progressus also has another feature management page that we've added to specifically turn on resource pricing. So because the Microsoft pricing has been around a while for items, some people may have that already turned on for their items and they may not want to use it for resource pricing. So that's why we opted to give you the option on the Progressus side to turn it off or on if you desire. Once you turn on the Microsoft, enable it on the Microsoft page, you are committed to pricing for items on the Microsoft setup because Microsoft does not allow you to disable that field once it's turned on. But on the resource pricing side, you can revert back to Progressus pricing by just using our feature management page to turn it off or on. So let's take a minute and look at, I want to go through the some of the screens so you can see what they look like. The very first thing is to go to feature management in the Microsoft feature management, and you'll see in that feature management the choice to new sales pricing experience. So this would be the first place that you would turn it on for purposes of turning on the Microsoft part. Then we have the Progressus feature management, and you'll see the last line in there says feature update, use new pricing experience for resources. So this is where you could enable it or disable it for resources specifically. Once you've enabled it, all your prices would be set up in the standard Microsoft screen. So this is an example of the sales price list, and I'll open it and show you what's in here. So you'll notice at the top it says sales price list. There's also purchase price list. So purchase price list would drive costs and sales price list would drive price, actual price, billable rates. This is an example of how to set it up for all customers. So at the top, you'll see that we've chosen to assign to type of all customers. However, you could pick a specific customer. So if you look here, instead of all customers, you could choose a customer, customer group, and so forth. And if you chose a specific customer instead, you would be defining on the assign to number field which customer these prices apply to. As with Progressus, they also have the ability to use currency code to identify the price. And they also have start and stop dates. So that way Progressus pricing also has effective dates. So those things are very similar to what Progressus offers. You wouldn't lose that functionality by using the Microsoft pricing. Under the product type, this is where we see where there's a consolidated screen or place to configure all of your prices in one place related to items and resources. So on some lines within this screen, you could identify items and choose which item you want to apply the price to. You could choose resources and resource groups and apply prices to those as well. The things that is non-functioning with Progressus is GL account and service costs because we use expenses instead of GL accounts for Progressus, and service costs don't apply to Progressus. So you can see here, once I said I want to set up based off product type resource group, now my resource group lookup is available for me to assign prices to. So I'm assigning prices to both to consultants, developers, and a project manager. The minimum quantity column is different than what we would see in Progressus, in the fact that you could set quantity or prices based off of quantity entered. So you could set one price if they enter 5 hours and a different price if they enter 15 hours. The prices, you can also see to the left, there's the ability to set up prices based on work type and unit of measure as well. And then The other thing that's offered is the ability to do a line discount. So you can apply a discount to a specific data set here. On the Progressus side, we do have the ability to have discounts as well. Those are defined on the project task, not the individual line. So if you have discounts unique to your consultant on project X, then that line discount could be defined here, and that would take priority over the Progressus discounts that are on the task. So once we have our prices set up for customers, this is an example of the same setup, but now I'm setting up prices based on a project. So you'll see I have chosen PGS1 as my project. We also can assign prices based off project and task as an alternative. So you can set up prices for all projects, a specific project, or project and task as well, which are very similar to the price configurations we have in Progressus as well. Same concept here. The difference is we're setting up consulting rates for project 1, whereas previously the consulting rate we had set up was for all customers. So for this project, for consulting, we are also setting price and discounts. So if you look over here, I'm setting up a 6% discount at a price of $210 when the minimum quantity is at least 10. And we'll see when we enter a journal how these prices are applied. For the developer, the second line, we're entering $215 as the price and giving 11% discount instead of the 6% and so forth. So now that I have my sales prices set up, I want to set up my purchase prices to define my resource costs. So if you enable the Microsoft pricing experience, you would start using this purchase price list for your resource costs instead of the standard Progressus resource cost list. So you can see the look and feel is identical to the sales price list in that we can assign based off of project. So if I look here, my costs, I don't need a specific cost by project, so I'm setting these up as all projects. However, if you did have unique costs by project, you could set it up by project or project task. Again, the same effective dates are here. So this is that uniform experience that we were talking about earlier. And again, you can set it up by resource or resource group, also for your items and item discount groups. And then I want, again, to the right, the same things we just saw on the sales price, where you can define by quantity, you can define the cost and discounts on here as well. So let's take a minute and look at a journal then. So the prices and quantities would apply to journals and timesheets. Anytime the cost is used, it would, for a resource, it would leverage this functionality. So this is an example of a journal that was entered, so you can kind of see how the costs and prices are defaulted to the record. So I've inset the resource cost purchase price list in the black box in the bottom. So you'll see that my consultant rates are $25, my developer rates are $30, and my project manager rates are $45 in the squared box below. So then on my journal lines, I see those same costs being applied. So I have lines for 2 projects. I have lines for project 1, and I have lines for project 3. But they're all using the same cost for a consultant and project manager and developers, depending on what type of resource it is, because I set those up for all projects. However, prices are a little different in the fact that you'll see here, the unit price on the first 3 lines is different than the unit price on the last 3 lines. And that's because I set up project-specific rates for project PGS1. So I inserted the project PGS1 prices setup that I did earlier and showed you. So the 210, the 215, and the 220 are all used on the PGS1 lines. And then now I inserted, so you could see the all customer prices that were set up in the previous screenshots. And those prices are 110, 115, and 120 based on the type of resource we're using. And then I kind of covered up the line discount percentage, but you can see it is pulling the line discount percent on the journals from the line discount that was set up on the sales price list. So that is pricing. Right. We have some articles, and the same demo I just walked through will be available for you to review and access from our YouTube channel as well. So we just included those links in this as references. The next thing we want to discuss is the WIP budget per completion for fixed price. These are some changes that we've made in the last couple releases, and I wanted to make sure that you were all familiar with them. So let me do this. The field specifically we're referring to is the BC percent FP. So that's the field in the product, and this is located on the project card. So as a baseline, that field is calculated based off of actual cost divided by budget. So total actuals divided by budget. Now, to find the actuals, we use the usage entries or transactions that were posted to the project. And then we use budget entries that also have been from your budgets that have been entered against the project. So it's the numerator is the actual usage, and the denominator are budget entry budget amounts. Now, we can then vary the calculation now based on a few things in the product. And I'm not sure how much everyone knows about this. So I wanted to just kind of give you some insight as to there are ways that you can control how the percentage is determined. There are some task settings, which I'll show you here in a minute, that determine which tasks are used and contribute to those actual and budget numerator and denominator values. We can determine if the percentage is based off of your cost or quantities associated to those actual usage lines or budget entries, or we can use milestones instead. And I'll show you how that works as an alternative to cost versus actuals versus budget. And then we can also choose which transactions. So if we're saying we want to use our actuals for our cost, which actuals are we using? Are we going to use all your resource postings? Are we going to use your items and your expenses as well to determine what the cost versus the cost versus budget? And then we also use the WIP until date as a cutoff, and I'll show you that here in a second. So we do have a feature that you can alter how that WIP until date is working for purposes of coming up with the calculation. So there's the percentage we're looking at, and it's also available in the WIP and revenue recognition screen. So that same field is in 2 different places, and it's the same calculation. So if I go to the project card, for WIP, for fixed price percent complete, that means we will only use tasks with contract types of fixed. So we don't include any T&M tasks in the calculation of the fixed price percent complete. That's one restriction that we use. So that makes it more accurate when you're charging to these tasks and then applying the WIP to them. The other thing is that we have given you the ability to exclude a specific task. So let's say The second task contains data that you do not want to contribute to the budget or the actuals, so you can exclude that task from the calculation of that percent complete. Let's look back at the project card and look at a couple other things here. So I mentioned that you could base your percent complete either on your cost or your quantity or your milestones. And so this is where you would set that up to define how's the calculation happening. I want to show you specifically milestones because that might be a concept you're not familiar with. So if I go to my milestones, excuse me, I've set up 3 milestones and I've defined what each milestone contributes to the percent complete. So maybe the first milestone here is only 20% of the total percent complete of my job. So I've assigned 20% to that milestone. I've assigned 30 to the second one and 50 to the last one. So each one of these is going to contribute that to the percent complete. So if I only completed the first task or the first milestone of 20, you'll see the overall completion is 100%. So if that's the only thing that was completed and I put 100% in here, the project would be 20% complete. However, the second milestone is also partially complete. It's 80% complete. So that's going to contribute 30 times 80 or 24% to the calculation. So you'll see on the right-hand side, the total percent complete for this project is 44% based on what I've determined is the overall percent complete for each milestone. Now going back to show you, if you use cost or quantity instead as your complete method, then this is where you can exclude things such as your expenses or items or resources. If you want to base your actuals to budget only for resources, you would exclude expenses and items in here. So now that I've controlled my numerator and denominator, the next step is how do I define the date? And so the WIP until date is that differentiator. So if I want to make my percent complete based on the WIP until date of 8/30, then it will look through all my actuals and budgets through August 30 and only use those to represent the percent complete that it determines for you. However, we've had some customers who have communicated that they want to include their actuals through August 30th, but they want to include all their budget entries, even if they have a budget date later than August 30th. And so to accomplish that, we've added a feature under Progressus features where you can tell it to use all your budget entries for that denominator. By enabling that for all your projects, the budget numbers would be all your budget entries for that project, not through the date cutoff. And that's all I have to show you on that. All right.
Excellent. Now I get to talk about bill multiple customers per project. So, or bill by task. So when a project involves multiple customers, right, billing the correct customer for the right project task, it can be challenging and it can be time consuming. So what do we have that helps you out with that? Well, with Progressus, we streamline billing by letting you define 2 different things. You can define the bill to customer, and you can also define the sell to customer for each project by task line in the project subform. So that's a big thing. So now you might be saying, Jeff, is this new? Well, it's happened this year, so it's out there. So anybody who's on this call right now, you have this functionality. So what's the benefit of this? Well, if you think about it, if we didn't have it by task line, you would usually think, okay, I need to create a contract. I need to set up a different billing projects. Again, you have to do a lot of things behind the scenes with that. This idea allows us to be a little more flexible and not require you to go to contracts, but do something right inside the project itself by defining the bill to customers and the sell to customers. So the default billing task field has been added to Progressus, to the Progressus setup, the Fast tab. It allows you to apply to all the new projects that you create. So what you'll see, we'll jump in just like Kim did, but we're going to have someone talk to you about this. We're going to jump in here and see that when you have the option to turn on, you have the ability to set up just one customer or multiple customers. So if you choose a multiple customer enables, then this bill by feature becomes enabled. If you don't, then obviously it's not going to be available. And then what will happen is that each task will be invoiced separately in this section and is by the customer that is chosen for the project. So go ahead to the next one. So the billing method is added to the project template as well. So we're used to the project template. So what does that mean? That means that when you are setting it up, whether you decide to use the project wizard, the copy project, the import project, being able to set that up at that time will be available to you. To support the bill by tasks, bill to and sell to fields for tasks have been added to multiple page, including your project plan, your project template, and the project task card. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit differently. We're going to have someone talk to you about this feature, and Kim and I will chime in as they talk.
When the billing method is multiple customers, the customer number and bill to customer are visible and editable on the project plan for each task.
You want to go back one for me,
Notice
Kim?
task.
Oh,
The task
miss
billing
one?
method is
Oh,
defined
yes,
on the
I'm sorry.
project.
Yep, my bad.
So we were
The
talking
task
about
billing
that
method
task
is
billing
defined on the
method.
project.
Go
So
ahead.
you see the option we've chosen right now is multiple customers. It's either multiple customer or a single customer. So that's the first field that we were talking about in the slides. Go ahead, Kim, sorry.
No, you're fine. That's
When the
my
billing
fault.
method is multiple customers, the customer number and bill to customer are visible and editable on the project plan for each task. Notice task 1 and 3 have the same bill to customer, but will create separate invoices. Tasks 2 and 4 have different customers and will also be billed separately.
So as you said, these two fields become enabled for you to be able to define differently. You can see the first one, we have different ones. Second one, we have different ones. Third, we have different one. And then the fourth line, they're both the same. But you can see just in that screen, and these are editable. So I can go ahead and change them as needed to go forward with that.
And Jeff, I want to add,
Yeah, please.
currently with the design, each task will bill separately. So even though tasks 1 and 3 have the same bill to customer, we will create a separate invoice for those. We're open to down in the future to say task 1 and 3 are combined if they have the same bill to customer, but currently each task is individually invoiced.
Yep.
Let's look at the bill to customer on the scheduled billing lines. Scheduled billing lines can also define a bill to customer. The customer on the scheduled billing lines always takes priority over the task customer.
Yep, Kim, so go ahead.
No,
You're probably going to say go ahead.
I was just going to say this bill to customer has been here for a long time, so that's not a new feature, but we still honor the bill to customer that is on the schedule billing line, and that does take priority over the task. Sorry, Jeff, was that what you were going to say?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
These are transactions ready to be invoiced. The create invoice process will be run, and each task will generate a separate invoice. Confirm your invoice generation to start the billing process. This process generates 5 invoices for the bill to customer. The first 3 invoices are created based on the time and expense transactions, while the last 2 invoices are for the scheduled billing lines.
So on the last 2, the 30,000 and 40,000, that is actually coming from the scheduled billing line because that was the bill to customer defined there, even though the task had a different bill to customer on it.
This is the first invoice created to show that the bill to customer is also visible on the sales invoice and is based on the customer shown in the created sales documents page.
So one of the things that Kim noted here is that these are uploaded and available to view as well. We cut it a little short. You can actually see how each individual invoice would look at those the ones that are all generated. You can see those, but for our purposes, we just wanted to show you that, yep, it definitely is setting in. That's where we just wanted to kind of highlight that. So Kim, I think that's what we have as far as demos today. Lots of stuff, a lot of high level stuff from Jeff, a lot of detailed information from Kim. So thank you on that, Kim. I think we can go back to our presentation and have Linda kind of wrap us up for today.
And I do want to say too, though,
there's
that
one other thing. Yeah, go ahead.
If you turn on the multiple customers per task, per project, that's an irreversible choice. So you are moving forward with the split billing, with those billings on the task at that time. We still have customer split billing on the project. So if you turned it on and then you decided I still only wanted to build a one project, I think you could turn on customer split and just put one customer there, and it should still bill to one customer. But we did want to let you know that Microsoft doesn't let us disable that field once it's enabled. So that's the reason you're kind of committed to that for that project at that time.
So, but it is based on project. So each project can be different, right?
That's right. Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Right. We just want to show one other thing, and we're not going to do a demo on this, but we did add embedded Power BI reports to the Role Center. It does require you to download an app and install it, but these are based on our existing BI reports. So you can see we put quite a few different reports in here that you can access, and there's instructions on YouTube on how to walk through these setup and install of this, so that way you have access to it. But you can access these reports right from within your Role Center rather than going out to Power BI to do that. And these are you have to download the app and you can look at the instructions on YouTube. Linda is up now.
Hey, so I have been busy working on some quick guides for help, and this came back from some feedback we received that people would like to have like sort of one-stop shopping. They want to be able to go to like one page and see all of the resources available. So the example that I'm giving here is for resource planning, putting together a quick guide that will give you an overview of resource planning in Progressus, links to articles on the resource boards, videos on the resource boards, articles on work assignments, reports, and then also topic-specific lessons in Progressus Bootcamp. And you can go ahead, Kim. So what that would it's kind of small to see here, but this is just an example. So we'll have this off of the main help menu, a quick guide to resource planning. And then you'll just see the links are kind of all brought into one place, so you don't have to search for it. If you're looking for how to do resource planning, for example, this is going to be it. Go ahead and click again, Kim.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you'll see like, the different links to things. Lunch and Learn, there's a video that covers resource planning. And then the Progressus Bootcamp, I put in there, how do I get signed up, right? Because there'll be several links available for the Progressus Bootcamp resource and resource planning topics, but you need to have a registration. So this is just how do you self-register for the bootcamp. So go ahead, Kim, let's go to the next one. And I would really like to ask for your help, your feedback. My email address is here. If you could just email me, give me some thoughts of what other topics you would like. So like I said, we're working on resource planning, resources setup, timesheet and expense entry setup, WIP. If you have other topics that you're, scratching your head over, you'd really like to have like a one place to go for it, bigger picture type of idea, please send me that suggestion and I'll get busy on it right away. Let's go to the next slide. And here is a gift for you. Here are the new videos covering the topics that Kim and Jeff presented today. So we didn't cover copy project, but that's in there. The BC % fixed price, billing multiple customers per project is also known as Bill-by-Task, how to embed the Power BI reports to Progressus Role Center, and then the Microsoft Sales Pricing Experience. So have fun, go out and check out these videos, and We're done. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Are there any questions that came in?
We did not see any.
Okay.
Yep. So if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type those in now. If you're like me, you're going to think of it after you. So you have our email addresses down below. Also, make sure you joined our LinkedIn group. Our LinkedIn group is something that we populate every time a new release comes out. And you guys know we're releasing pretty much every month. Every time we are sending things out via email, but also if you go to the LinkedIn group and you join it, we're always updating the LinkedIn group as well. So it's a way for you to always go back and see past invites, see what the latest things that we're getting ready to do. When's the next Progressus Connect or the next Lunch and Learn or the next advisory board, all that information. It's a great place to go and find that information as well.
And Jeff, I want to just add that we will be posting the PDF and a link to this recorded video out there, as well as on our help webpage. There's a page for webinar topics and upcoming topics. So we're going to try to make sure that's available for all of you to access in more than one place, but definitely in the LinkedIn group.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Kim, as always, thanks for your information, your knowledge. Thanks, everybody, for attending. Linda, thanks for all your work that you put into this as well. And we appreciate your time today. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.